Hello, and welcome to Soul Priorities. My name is Tuaca Kelly, and I'm glad you can join me today, join us in this hanging out process, and hanging out in the process of consciousness that we'll all grow and develop together. So many experiences in life can inform our growth, stunt it, and what are those processes? What brings the awareness to move through obstacles, to learn what we need to from the experience itself, and to move forward in a way where we're not repeating something that doesn't serve us? One of those steps is how we respond, how we react to life. And for this, I want to bring forward the word levity. That's what comes up in meditation to present as kind of like today's lesson is levity. In responding to other kind of external stimuli or even an internal conflict. Because both things can happen. We can have pleasurable experiences inside and outside the body. We can have conflict inside and outside of the body. But what happens when our first response to it is levity? Let's take it this way for a moment. You're sitting where you are. Look at all the objects around you. Maybe there's a plant, a counter, a table, a chair, rugs, magazines or books on your table or desk, your desk, and your computer right now. Imagine for a moment that everything literally begins to levitate. And you're sitting there watching everything else around you levitate, float past you. Even the cat. Everything is rising in space. What happens with that is you're still presumably in your chair. But watching everything float in space gives you a new perspective on your relationship to these objects. Not that your cat is an object, but you know what I'm saying. Giving relationship a new perspective to all these objects. And just the phenomena of everything beginning to lift, you know, your response may be, whoa, wow, this is cool, what's happening? This hasn't happened before. This is a new experience. I'm just going to sit here in my chair. And most probably your body would automatically breathe at this new experience. And as you're breathing and sitting in your chair, all these different responses are happening in your body. And kind of the conflict that you had moments ago that you were stressed out about doesn't have the same priority or the same attraction or tension or charge in it than after all these things are floating. Your attention has shifted. Not only that, your perception on what's happening is also growing, is also blossoming. And your body is breathing and beginning to open up to a new experience. When you do that, when you open up to a new experience, and by experience, this also includes idea. This also includes possibility. This includes portals presenting to you with alternatives to whatever conflict or non-resolution you were choosing before. So, oh, hey, I didn't know that this was possible, that this could happen, that I could see life in another way. I would have such kind of turmoil or anger or disappointment. And it was all consuming. Even if that was only 30 seconds of your life, it was all consuming. Maybe that 30 seconds is a lot longer. That tension becomes a lifestyle or a habit, that it's so ingrained. Sitting, landing in your body, giving breath, and allowing for levity, allowing for space to see things in a new way. Feel about that. Consider what happens in your body when you say yes to your life, yes to your growth, yes to new experiences, and consider what happens when you say no. Different invitations come along. No, don't like it. No. Can't make me. That's true. No one can make you. But when this no is just kind of being spewed without considering really what it is or what could open up for you, in the form of a judgment, in a way that alienates you from your life, you're effectively and successfully alienating yourself from your life. So imagine for a moment that we'll call them extreme no's, with that judgment, without the thoughtfulness, with absolute carelessness. Imagine that every no becomes, a beam in a fence. And how many of those have you planted? And how much space is there around you to move after you've surrounded yourself by this barricade? By you saying no this way, you're the one building up the resistance to your own potential, to your own growth. And sometimes that can be a difficult place to make a decision. You literally create a space where there's kind of no space to think or to breathe. And again, this experience of kind of all-consuming stress or tension or terror comes to place. So let's breathe that out. You've had these experiences. You've even had him saying yes if you found yourself agreeing to things that you really didn't want to do. If you were being kind of too polite, too enthusiastic, too excited, too willing to please. Where yeses can also kind of put you into, extreme yeses, we'll call it that, again, without being thoughtful or careful or really checking in to feel if, this was something that felt sound. And I'm not talking about, errands or chores or things that, are necessary for life. If you want clean clothes, you have to do your laundry. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about recognizing when you go beyond your own boundaries to such a degree where you lose touch with yourself, lose touch with the needs of your body, where you lose self-care. That can be another tension. And sometimes people will fill that tension with saying yes more, agreeing to more things. Well, if they're satisfied, and they may never be satisfied as a result of you compromising yourself. Because there's an imbalance with that. It can create a tension. Come back to your chair. Invoke levity. the houseplant, the cat, the car, or if you're in Holland, the bicycle. Just let everything float in space, in mind, and then interact with it. Okay, here's the issue. Whether, you know, a conflict with a loved one, a deadline at work or at school, or a personal achievement, some stressor, a death in the family. Let that float. Stay in your chair, stay in your body, keep breathing. And allow for new perspective. Say yes to, I want a new perspective on this experience. I want another perspective on this experience. I want to see and understand more about this conflict, and I want to see and understand more about my reaction to it. Like if I'm getting so kind of tense or frustrated, or kind of like want to react, or anger, or if I want to like cry and what's going on? One of those questions is, what in me is touched, is so touched to invoke this extreme yes or no in this way. That's another question. Please grant me another perspective. Please touch within me a precious moment of insight so I can pull one of these fence barbs from the soil of my life experience, so I have even this much sunlight coming through, this much consciousness coming through to touch upon, you know, one absolute truth in this experience. And when I do that, and I have this consciousness, even if it's just this one beam of truth, when I have consciousness of that one beam of truth, I can also activate consciously my responsibility to what that is. Oh, I'm reacting to this situation. I wanted it to be different. It can be that simple. So I don't want this experience. I didn't want that person to die. You know, I wanted that promotion. Whatever the experience is, when you ask your body, you ask your intelligence, you ask the universe, please grant me the opportunity to understand, give me insight on this, and there's more in there. And when you surrender to that process, when you hand yourself over to that process and you are willing to receive that insight, that message, and you're become responsible for it, and also kind of surrender and melt into that in your chair, in your body, and you float with it. So at the same time, being grounded in the experience as you're allowing experience information to float. Ask your body, you ask your intelligence at the same time here that you're doing this. Grant me the opportunity to understand, give me insight on what this, happens. And there's more in when you another barrier. It may just be one spoke, it may be 10. Everyone's process is unique, it's different, and it resonates, you know, also with your integrity. But there's another post being pulled out, another barrier being pulled out, saying yes to your growth, and there's more sunlight, there's more consciousness, there's more given to you that's offered, that's gifted to you to be responsible for. being present with these experiences. Now that I've presented this to you, it's like, oh, that's, that's something to take into consciousness. And this is something to apply. Your own action, your own application is part of your responsibility, because you are effectively responsible for your life. And consciousness and appreciation are in relationship with each other. Consciousness and responsibility are in relationship with each other. Responsibility and appreciation are in relationship with each other. There's no in between with these. As you're choosing for this insight, as you're choosing to be with the truth of your purpose, the truth of your experiences, the truth of your moods, your thoughts, your judgments, your pleasures, what turns you on, really, what really turns you on, what really does it for you, what really turns you off. When you begin to own your humanity, you open up to your divinity. And this is what spirituality is. This is you granting space for you to come out, your personality to come out, and for your own soul and soul purpose to be expressed in your personality. For you to breathe, for you to be in your body, and for things to float. I want to say, do not fear work. Do not be lazy about this. This is work. This is work. Why is it work? Different emotions will come up. In some cases, your body will want to resist that which it has been denying. So even though your body wants health and balance, and your intellect wants health and balance, that also means change. That also means a death. And there may be aspects of your body in your system that say, no, I don't want to die. I like when I get away with this. But you bring consciousness to that, and like, you know what? I am growing here, and I want to grow here. And it means catching myself in the act. Now that I'm aware of this thing, it's presented to me, that I've said, yes, I've removed this barb, and I've been gifted with insight to help break free and transform these barriers that I've created in my life. Baby, that's work. It was work to put it there. It's work to pull it out. So your own level of commitment has to be recognized and must also be appreciated with breath, with being in your body, with levity, sincerity, as well as humor. Because part of the human experience is pretty funny. We do some interesting things and have interesting experiences. There is work involved. Last year I gave an event, a healing event, and a lecture. And the healing event included customized transmissions I give to assist people in clearing, I call it cleaning house, clearing out what, programs, informations, influences that are in their body that don't really benefit them, and touching upon the information in their soul and helping to facilitating bringing that information into the body so the body fills up with its soul integrity. So cleaning house, filling in restoration. At this event that I gave, there's about 50 people there. And I stayed about 2 hours after the event answering questions for people. There's many people queued answering questions. And this one man came to me and he said, "How do you do it? How do you do what you do?" He said a couple years ago, he started to wake up. Different experiences he was having through dreams, through visions, for the experience of knowing. And his life began to take a pretty radical shift. And there was things that he was experiencing that all of his friends were not hip to. It was not their experience that he was opening up. He said, "I used to hang out with my friends. We'd go to the bar, we'd drink, we'd watch sports, hang out with women. You know, this was my life. But since these openings in me, I can't go back to that. There's no going back. But I feel so sensitive now in this world. I'm trying to negotiate how to be in this world. How do you do it? How do you do it?" And he said, "Thank you for your work." He commended me. Thank you. And with this question, I did not leave unanswered for him nor you, is one, to appreciate that it is work. One, to appreciate that there is transformation that takes place. One, to appreciate that there are times you may feel isolated or lonely in a human standpoint, from a human experience, and that it is helpful to have community. It's helpful to have a conversation with people, your peers as well as your mentors and elders. And that's part of why we created this space, so you have a home to come to. You have them in your communities, but that's part of the experience, where some people feel just completely lonely and isolated, even if they're in, you know, a spiritual community or a community that identifies as spiritual. You can go through bouts of being social to feeling immense isolation and alienation. What's going on? What's opening up inside of me? What's changing? You start crying for no apparent reason. Start laughing or having impulses to do things that may be different from what you usually do. So hanging out in the sports bar with your friends, there's no attraction for that. There's memories and appreciations for back in the day, but present moment and going forward, there's not an attraction for what's not growing your heart, what's not in alignment with your soul purpose. And that's one of the things that starts the shift. So how do I do it? I'm with my body, I'm with my information, I breathe, and look at everything with the interest in, and also a sincere desire for understanding, where the understanding happens. And all these different experiences, something for me to lump from. That means learn and flubber. To learn from. And from that, I can also transmit and pass on to assist people, assist others in their unique experience. So even though there's many things in life, I can say, yeah, I've had that experience too. I don't approach it that way. but understand the experience that people are having in relationship to their own process, their own growth, their own development. So from empathy to empathy, supporting in the process. How else do I do it? I do it because I must. This man said there's no going back, and he's right. So you're here today listening because you've also made a choice to grow, to understand more about what happens in your body, in your thoughts, in your dreams, in experiences that you've been having or experiences that you have questions about. And to blossom. Levity. Allow everything to float. Give yourself a new perspective. Ask to be shown another perspective. Open yourself up to learning and to growing, even if that means letting things go. Like sports bars. That's not to say that you have to give up your sports bar, but if it's not serving you or your purpose, be willing to let it go. Breathe and float. My name is Tuaca Kelly. Thank you for joining me today on Soul Priorities. What's your soul priority? We'll see you next week.